Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Walls. Welcome back to a new update video on the channel. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. Recording here once again from Caledon, Mallorca, to give you an update. A little bit of a busier day, to be fair. You could argue a little bit more positive for Wolves, of course. Today we've had the announcement of one particular signing, which I'll talk about before I get rid of this mosquito, as my ankle is already very bitten up. Before we do though, guys, be sure to smash the like button down below. Let's try and hit 400 likes once again on today's video, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. But Tchatchoua has officially been announced as a brand new Wolves player, coming in from Hellas Verona for just over 12 million euros. 5-year contract, with Wolves holding the option of an additional year as well. Interesting one. Picks up the number 38 shirt from Wolves. We knew this was going to happen pretty much for about 4 or 5 days now. I think it was Thursday where this was initially announced by Matteo Moretto that Wolves were interested in the signing. I had so many people. It's weird because the medical was done, as far as I was aware, sort of Friday, Saturday. So it's weird that it's taken so long to get this deal over the line. I don't know if there were certain hiccups in the way or whatnot. I had people constantly messaging me, Dave, when's he going to get announced? As if he'd sort of turned the plane around when he saw the Manchester City result. But Chachua is here and officially part of the Wolves team. Wolves posted some interesting stats about the player, one of them being fastest speed clocked by a player in the Italian Serie A league last season. So hopefully we can see that a little bit more in Old Gold at Molineux, a little bit more pace to help the counter-attacks for Wolves as well. Interestingly enough, Rudy Galletti, a journalist in Italy, reported in regards to this situation and said that Jackson Chachua wasn't always going to be the option for right back for Wolves. Look, we know Mark Pubel was there. We know that Juan Sanchez was an option as well. But Anan Kalaili from Union SG over in Belgium was also reportedly an option for Wolves. It said that the Belgian club, their asking price for the Israeli international was too much, hence why Wolves never pursued the deal. And that's why in the end they went with Jackson Chachua as the new right back at Wolverhampton Wanderers. So look, fingers crossed Wolves don't come to regret that. But let's see how Chachua gets on, and let's see if he goes on to start against Bournemouth as well on Saturday. Of course, full match preview for that game will be later on this week. Let's move on to a couple more stories. Hwang, China player that I mentioned yesterday. A little bit more on that news broke late last night and today. It's likely to be a loan deal for Hwang with a potential option to buy. Of course, a lot of Wolves fans wanting maybe an obligation. Of course, that may still be part of the deal as well. It's said by a journalist in South Korea that Hwang has agreed personal terms with Palace already. It's just up to Wolves now to see if they can agree to or find a replacement for Hwang, which I'm sure they are working hard to get, because they still want to bolster the attacking area of the pitch. And very interestingly, Matt Hobbs, the former sporting director of Wolves, is set to join Crystal Palace to take over, actually from former Wolves player Dougie Freedman, who actually did a pretty decent job at Palace and moved on. So Matt Hobbs is set to take over there. Remains to be seen whether he makes a move for any other Wolves players, but Hwang Ki-chan may well be a player that Palace do look to bring in before the end of the transfer window. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Most Wolves fans sort of okay with the move, but of course you want Wolves to be bringing in replacements before that move happens anyway. Jorgen Strand Larsen, his situation with Newcastle United has been brought up in the media again today. Of course, I've mentioned this maybe once or twice on transfer videos recently, or at least over the last few weeks or so. But David Ornstein from The Athletic brought it up again in regards to Jorgen Strand Larsen and said that the Norwegian striker is still an option for Newcastle United. They feel it would be a fairly straightforward deal to do. Not much was said in regards to this and the Alexander Isak deal, whether that has much to do with the deal, if Isak will have to leave for Jorgen to join. As far as I'm aware, I don't think Jorgen would leave this window, and according to Alex Crook of TalkSport, Wolves aren't actively looking to move Jorgen on. It's not a situation that Wolves are sort of happily entertaining. It would take an astronomical, a huge bid from Newcastle United to even consider selling Jorgen Strand Larsen. So in my opinion, I think he's going to probably stay. But I still think Wolves need to bolster, even with Hwang going, even before Hwang goes. Wolves need to bring in more quality in those attacking positions. And finally, we did have a fresh rumour today from Matteo Moretto. He was reporting for Marca. And of course, Matteo has dropped some really decent pieces of news across this window already, albeit mainly out. But he exclusively revealed the Chachua interest. He revealed the Gonzalo Guedes departure, but saying Marc Casado from Barcelona is subject to interest from Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham United. The midfielder plays a defensive midfielder, valued or expected to be valued at around €30 million, so quite a hefty fee. Wolves keeping tabs on that situation. I feel this could be a Mendes favour, perhaps. Going into the closing stages of the window. However, it said that in the press that Casado, well, one thing for me, the fee, a Wolves going to spend €30 million on a player that's maybe going to be second or third choice midfielder. But also, does he want to join Wolverhampton Wanderers? I'm very quickly checking my phone, which has popped up with a new rumour, which I'll discuss in a minute. Actually, Marc Casado. You know, we don't want players that don't necessarily want to be here. Look, teams such as, we've been linked with players before, AC Milan, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Look, they're very hard to leave, of course. But it's up to the character of the player to see if they do leave, how they're going to adapt to new clubs. Nelson Semedo did very well joining Wolves, left Barcelona, who are a massive club. Casado, young player, probably still feels he can have an impact at Barcelona. I don't know, but for me, this would be a clever signing for Wolves. May seem a little bit steep. Perhaps we can get it done on a loan deal. But for me, I think you've got Andre and João Gomez, and not wishing to sell either of them. If you've got a player like Casado already at the club, ready to sort of move straight in after either of those have sold, I think that's really good business from Wolves. But it's still a steep deal and still very early days to see what happens. But less than 2 weeks ago for Wolves and Fosun to see what they can do. And very quickly, just seen a post in regards to Gerard Martin. You may remember him, left back from Barcelona. According to Sport in Spain, Barcelona were ready to sell Gerard Martin for €15 million to Wolves, but the player rejected that offer. And that's exactly what I said just then about Marc Casado. Very good timing in regards to that post. Of course, Wolves went on to sign David Muller-Wolfer to fill that left wing-back position in the end. But guys, that is all for today. A little bit more juice to talk about as always. Be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tomorrow, hopefully we see some more positive news in regards to Wolves and some incomings. But hopefully it's a busy sort of, 10 days or so, 11, 12 days or so of the transfer window. And hopefully we could maybe put a bit of pressure on bringing someone in before Saturday's game against AFC Bournemouth. As always, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.